Dave. This is Ed Rubin from New York City. I'm a writer on art, culture, and entertainment, and I sometimes handle restaurant reviews. I also travel worldwide. I'm an independent writer, and I write for magazines and newspapers and online, both nationally and internationally. And I'm talking to David Lefkowitz from Days Gone By on UNC Radio.
Here on the 10th annual Total Theater Tony Show, I'm Dave Lefkowitz, and I'm talking to a friend of mine, also a writer and curator on art and culture and entertainment. He's been a freelance writer for many magazines and websites, not just in the U.S., but all over the world. He writes for Artes Magazine, New York Theater Wire, Berkshire Fine Arts, and the new website theaterscene.com. He also appears regularly on Eva Heinemann's program. She's going to be a guest on this show as well, High Drama. He's a member of the American Theater Critics Association. He's a member of the Drama Desk. He's a member of the Outer Critics Circle, and he is opinionated and a whole lot of fun. He's Ed Rubin, and he's here. Hello, Ed.
Hi, David. That sounds like an obituary.
well, it wouldn't fit on a tombstone. You have to initialize everything.
Well, I have my tombstone already written, so I'll tell you about it when we meet in person.
Well, actually, one question I do want to ask you before we get to it is that you specifically said, please don't introduce me as a critic, even though you belong to all these critics organizations. Why does that word turn you off?
Because basically, I'm an audience. I'm a member of the audience. I love things or I don't love things. I cry, I laugh. And I also clap and do standing ovations, which a lot of New York critics who I see in the audience don't.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't do that, but I do that. And actually, Terry Teachout said, if you really love a play, there's no sin, and he's the theater critic for Wall Street Journal,
right.
No sin in gushing. And I'm a gusher, as one of my editors says. I'm a three-hanky person because I cry a lot in plays.
Oh, okay. I do too. You know, if they're really wonderful or moving.
So that's why I prefer to be called a reviewer, a writer, a journalist, but not a critic.
Well, can I ask, did any of the scenic designs of musicals this year move you to tears?
No, and I just want to say one thing.
Sure.
There are categories and all kinds of categories, and they have to fill them with the good, bad, and indifference because people have to fill them. There was not anything in the design of musical that drove me crazy. I did like Hedwig and the Angry Inch, the set design.
Why?
It was kind of crazy, and it was like an art piece. And actually, it's a very trendy because it's cutting edge. They had everything, like an explosion and videos, and it was just very, very busy, very, very crazy.
Well, the joke of it is that they're doing Hedwig and the Angry Inch on the stage of a show that just closed, a musical version of The Hurt Locker, where all these jeeps explode and people go flying. So that's kind of the joke of the look of Hedwig and the Angry Inch. So you really like that.
I like that. And for a serious play, Act 1 was just an amazing set. It, too, was actually wasn't like an art piece. It was like a beehive because it was just all kinds of intricately wired and pipes here and there, and within each, and it kept turning and turning, and within different places, it had sets. You're watching people as it turns, as the world turns, and they look like bees and ants doing their business. I love that set.
Let me hear you on the other sets of a musical, though. For example, what did you think of the Rocky set by Christopher Barreca?
Not much.
Oh, okay.
It was just a nothing set. However, the last 16 minutes, as the New York Times' Brent Brantley raved about, he said that's the only thing the play's worth. It's going to see, and even then it's not worth it. All of a sudden it opens up, and a ring comes out, boxing ring and lights and everything. But, I'm not impressed. It's like the Chandelier at Phantom. That was more exciting, and that was 30 years ago? What play where the helicopter landed on stage?
Miss Saigon.
Yes, Miss Saigon. This is a one-trick pony, so it means nothing. And the play itself was rather boring.
What about Alexander Dodge's set for A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder?
That was a perfect little set. It was a Victorian, a set within a set, delightful. But, I wasn't really carried away. It was, I had seen it before. It was very beautiful, beautifully done. That probably will win the best set for the musical.
Oh, do you think? for Gentleman's Guide. So that's going to beat out Rocky, Julian Crouch's work for Hedwig and the Angry Inch. And what about Santo Loquasto for Bullets Over Broadway?
I don't even remember that set. That's the thing. I tried to think about the set. If you don't remember something, I can't remember everything. The best things stick to you. You walk away and say, my God, that was a fabulous set. Bullets of Broadway, it was a nice set, perfunctory, but I didn't think it was anything special.
Now, speaking of things that you walked away with and stuck to you and you thought were special, Ed Rubin, what was your favorite show on, off, or off Broadway of the whole season?
Well, there were two. One happens to be a musical and one's a drama. I remember Mama played at the Judson in the West Village in the gym, not produced for 74 years. It was a movie, a TV series, won Oscars or nominations anyhow. It was a marvelous play. It was a brilliant concept where instead of using men and women with 23 characters, he hired 10 women actresses, all kind of resumes as long as an arm and two legs, in their 70s and 80s to play the roles. And it was marvelous. I cried. It was, you heard the words of the playwright, which is always wonderful, or mostly wonderful. And that's what I want to hear, good, better, and different. Each actress was wonderful. The set was 10 big tables spread around the gym floor, and they moved around the tables. Each table, it's about a family, Norwegian family. One had a bunch of typewriters, one had family photos, one had coffee cups, and of course the whole play is narrated by, it happened to be Barbara Barry in this case. She's going to be a writer, so she's essentially, this play turns into a book. It's a wonderful play. I loved it.
And what was your other favorite piece of this?
The musical, which came back, Here Lies Love. It's playing at the Public Theater. They opened it originally. That also is extremely unique. It's also about the rise and fall, although she never did fall, she just died, of Eva Perón. And the cast, they're all just marvelous. I'm sorry, it's not Eva Perón. I'm going crazy.
Oh, you're taking up Imelda Marcos.
Imelda Marcos.
Same style, different woman, different country.
Yeah, but same story, but more shoes than the other one.
And she didn't die. I think Imelda's still alive, isn't she?
Yes, she is, and I've always loved her. I liked her. I thought, what a pair of balls she had. She's quite wonderful.
Well, a million pairs of shoes she had, too, but yeah.
Right. And it was wonderful. They have a moving stage. The audience stands throughout the whole thing. They have some seats around, up, but very few. And the stage keeps moving, and you have to turn with the stage with its revolving. It's just an amazing concept. The music was wonderful. All of the people are Filipino actors, which is wonderful. How often do they get a chance to work? Not, you know what I mean? It's a minority group. They're not on the stage every minute. It's a marvelous thing, and they brought it back. It was a very big hit.
I'm going to throw you a very quick curveball, Ed Rubin. Yeah. I would love to know, since you don't just write about theater, but you travel and you do all sorts of cultural things, what was your favorite art show that you got to see anywhere in the world this past year? Your visual painting or sculpture?
That's an interesting question. I'll tell you, it may sound saccharine even to me if someone said that. The last thing I want to see is a Van Gogh show. But it was Paris. I'm not sure where I saw it. Was it the Petit Palais maybe or somewhere? There was a show with Van Gogh and Artaud, you know, A-R-T-A-U-T.
Anthony Artaud, yeah.
Yeah, the writer. And Van Gogh is the only artist that I've ever known that every time I see him, when I go to see his museum in Amsterdam, that gets better and better and better. It's a phenomenon I don't quite understand, because no artist that I see gets better and better and better. Like Picasso or any of the artists. They're high up there, they're A++, and they remain there maybe, but they don't get better. Van Gogh gets better. But the interesting thing about this, and I didn't know that André Breton, or someone asked Artaud to write a book about Van Gogh. And he did. So they have quotes of what he was talking about of Van Gogh, and he understood them because they both were in asylums. He thought he understood the workings of Van Gogh's mind because they were both in asylums. And although much of it was in French, which kind of irked me, I got enough out of it that I'm going to trace the book down and read what he wrote about Van Gogh. It's a marvelous little show. As you see, things are wonderful to look at, but I love to be intellectually stimulated because it goes through my whole body.
Wow. Well, we thank you certainly, speaking of Van Gogh, for lending us an ear here.
I gotta say one thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't care really who wins any of these awards. I don't have any vested interest, except the actress for the best musical is I want Sutton Foster to win for Violet. This Kelly O'Hara, I've never appreciated her. You know, she has a good voice in this play that she's in now, The Bridges of Madison County, which is a sort of a lackluster play, although the orchestration's going to win. It was wonderful music. But I want Sutton Foster to win because we saw a new side of her that we've never seen before. And actually, that would be my favorite musical of the year is Violet, not counting the off-Broadway Here Lies Love. So I really want Sutton to win, but Kelly may win. She's been nominated for 5 Tonys. Maybe they'll feel guilty she's never won a Tony, and maybe this is her time.
Well, it has been a wonderful time talking with you, Ed Rubin. Everybody, look for his cultural, I'm not going to say reviews or critiques, his cultural writings on art and entertainment at places like...
I have one more thing to add.
Yeah.
Realistic Jones is on Broadway. It was not nominated for a Tony.
Everybody hates it, except you.
Will, it was marvelous. And I'll tell you why they possibly get hated, and I'll tell you why it was marvelous.
Okay.
You don't have to pay attention to any play on Broadway. It's like they go to be entertained, you swallow it whole, you like it, you don't like it. You really have to pay attention to Realistic Jones. It's the only play on Broadway that's realistic. So there were pauses, and there were non sequiturs, the conversations between the two couples. I never paid such close attention because you'd miss things, and it also showed the workings of the mind. And also, it was Isherwood.
Charles Isherwood of the New York Times raved about
what does that mean for Tonys, that the Realistic Jones wasn't nominated at all? He was appalled. And not that anybody turned in a Tony-winning performance, but the play itself was quite wonderful and difficult because you had to pay attention, and the Broadway audience doesn't pay attention. They want it to wash over them, and they can enjoy it and not have to go really follow each character, what they said, what they meant, what happened. So a wonderful play.
Okay, the Realistic Joneses. You're kind of in the minority, but there are some other critics who did like it a lot. Ed, do you have anything else? Or can we end the interview now?
I do have a vested interest. I want Mark Rylance to win something.
He's already won a couple of Tonys, but everybody says that he was fantastic in Twelfth Night.
And the other actor in Twelfth Night, who's up for an award also, who plays a woman, was quite luscious and wonderful and very confusing because he was a woman, and there was a attraction between him and Mark Rylance that you really believed. Maybe they're doing something on the side that we don't know.
Oh, now I have that very highly.
One can hope.
Well, I only hope that you have another great, wonderful year of culture and arts and entertainment. We thank you so much for being in the neighborhood. Ed Rubin.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful year.
You too. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.